Good evening, everyone. I want to call to order the December Quorum Court Finance and Budget Committee meeting. Thank you all for being here. We'll start with prayer and pledge, if everybody. God, thank you for caring for the needs of your people. You give us everything we need. Everything we have is yours. So please use us and what we have to fulfill the needs of others. Even when it feels hard to be generous, please help us to be willing to give everything you've given us for the good of others. Lord, give us the wisdom to know what is right and the courage to do it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item we have is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have any changes to the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
JP Lemming?
Are there, don't we need to add one of these ordinances?
Yes, sir.
There's two different dates, one's 2022 and one's 2023. Which one's correct? 22? It needs to be added to the agenda if we can, and let's make it the very last thing.
9, so make it after 9, 9B? Or
Yes.
make it 10 and drop 10 and 11 down?
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
So I have a motion to add item 2025-083. Do I have a second? I have a motion by JP Lemming and a second by JP Lopez. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Agenda is amended.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda by JP Ecke, seconded by JP Washington. All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed? No. It carries. Item 4, Treasurer's Report. Treasurer Hill.
All right. 4.1, Treasurer's Summary. It's always a good month for us revenue-wise in November because of the taxes everybody pays before October 15th. We received that in November, as you can see the first line on the general fund. $9.5 million in revenues came in, only $4.5 million in expenditures. So we ended the month with almost $18.5 million on the general fund. Look down the 2000 road, almost 1.8 came in, 1.1 went out, 3017 jail. Revenues and expenditures were about the same for the month. And at the, let's see, go back to 6002, collectors unapportioned fund. So we had 115 million in taxes that came in, just to let y'all know how much countywide the property taxes were. Let's see, the end of this report began with almost 85 million in the bank and ended with almost 102 million. 4.2, the ARPA report. About 650,000 come out this month for the EOC and the COVID mitigation project. And we had 4,256,000 remaining in that fund. 4.3, the property tax report. We got in 8.1 million for November. If you look back last year, we got 7.4. For the year, we're 9.5% over 2024. And the final tax settlement we will get later this month, you see that bottom figure is 22.9 million. We should easily make that projection. 4.4, the 1 cent sales tax. The good news is we saw an increase. The bad news is it's the lowest increase we've seen this year. Hopefully that's not a trend, but we'll find out in the next couple of months. But 945,000 came in. Like I said, that's 1.11% increase over 2024. 4.5 jail tax, 1,453,000 came in. It was 2%, a little over 2% better than last year. And for the year, they're 6.72% above 2024. And on both of these sales tax, we should, after next month, we should easily make projections on both of those. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Treasurer Hill?
I'll try.
Thank you, Treasurer Hill.
Thank you.
Item 5 is the employees' insurance report. Mr. Angel?
Good evening. You guys remember a few years ago when I'd bring good news every other month? This isn't a few years ago. Didn't age well, did it, Willie? All right, well, the October numbers, we took another uptick. You know, we kind of moved back down a little bit with August and September, close to where we wanted to be for funding, but unfortunately, we stepped up from 702 on total spend in October up to 829,000, basically, for this last month. I'm not sure we'll get another rebate come in. We might get one more under the wire before next year. But I would like to point out that the funding that you all passed last month, I did some quick math, and where we are actually down about 900,000 this year with funding, if we'd had the funding that you guys elected to spend in 2026 on 2025's year, we would have been at basically a break even, up just a little bit. So I think we've finally got this thing funded where we can maybe not stay out in front of it, but not take on any more water. And we also have probably almost certainly another check from the specific stop loss carrier that will come in this year that will help us carry forward into 2026 as well.
Any questions for Mr. Angel? Thank you, sir.
That was easy. Thanks, guys.
Item 6 is the Comptroller's report. Comptroller Sherman.
Which one's first? Okay, the summary of operations. We're 91% through the year, 91.5% through the year. And so far in the general fund, everything's looking good. We're at actual spending at 80%. It's looking like we're averaging about 3.9 million to 4 million in expenditure per month out of the county general. The county general, to me, I'm guessing that it'll come in about 4 to 4.5 million under appropriations. And then the other big accounts that I look at is the county road. It's averaging a little bit over $1 million a month, and I think that we'll probably come in about $1 million under appropriations. So coming in under budget on all the big accounts. And then if you look at the jail, same thing. Averaging a little bit over $2 million a month, and we'll probably come in about 1.6 million under appropriation. A lot of that would probably be labor because there are vacancies in the jail. So overall, everything's looking good, as Mr. Angel said. And I'll get back up here and talk about the health insurance fund, employee health insurance fund, when we talk about that ordinance. I can break down everything. We watch it very closely and just keeping tabs on it. Is there any questions about where we're standing spending-wise? Okay.
JP.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One quick question on the roads funding. I'm hoping we don't have any bad weather for the rest of the year. But if something disastrous were to hit, we have enough money to keep going in the roads fund with.
Well, right now we'd have $1 million. Like we'll probably be under budget by $1 million right now. We could spend that $1 million if we had to. We could maybe do an infusion, but I don't.
You don't. Okay.
I don't know how much truthfully, I don't know how much it usually costs for one incident of a snowstorm, so.
Yeah.
But we do
And if
have,
it's
we do have
ice-
some money there.
Ice, okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure we're doing okay, because
Yeah,
you never know with ice and snow and,
yeah.
but thank you.
Then the next report is just the unappropriated reserve report. So basically, this year, you have passed 1.7 million in ordinances that added to the budget. There's still 2.4 million in unappropriated reserves, so we operated well within how we're supposed to legally. Last month, that came out of the county general was Circuit Court 5, had a small amount, the children's safety that gave the brief that you voted to give money to, and then a small amount to the treasurer for, I think, salaries and stuff. And then on the, that came out of the general reserve fund was at 94,000, which was the CRI match. So that's, everything's looking good. Plenty of unappropriated reserve going into the end of the fiscal year. So since you have that additional unappropriated reserve, that means, you know, we didn't even come close to the holdback. So we do hold back 10% of what we have up front legally, so. Is there any questions on this?
J.P. Masson,
Thank you. Do you know where we're at on the fuel island and getting the new graders and stuff? We moving forward on all that?
Yes, so the fuel island, I know that I've already seen the first, we let the bid, and I saw the first invoice. I can't remember the exact amount. I think it was about 240 and some change. And then we originally put about 675 appropriated. I'm assuming that that'll roll over the year because just of construction. I put 675 originally in the 26 budget. I reduced that the last time you saw it by whatever around 200, I think, I took out of that, so we're good on that. Graders, we leased the graders, and we let that bid. I don't think that we have done, I'm not sure where the contract stands on that, but we did award the bid, and it's in the budget for next year.
Okay, thank you.
J.P. Stafford.
Thank you, Chair. While we're on the subject of the graders, I just was hoping you could just clarify for the public. There was a report that came out in the newspaper last week that I think incorrectly stated that the county was purchasing the graders rather than leasing them.
Yeah, we definitely leased the graders,
Okay.
so that was probably the least financial impact when we were going into the next fiscal year. So that is true, they were leased.
Okay,
That's
we're
the-
leasing.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
J.P. Koger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sherman, if I understood you correctly, you said we had 2.8 million in unappropriated reserves?
2.4 left over in the general fund.
2.4 in unappropriated reserves?
Right.
Okay, so this ordinance that we passed tonight, hopefully on the medical insurance, on the employee insurance, so that's gonna reduce that by that
That
amount?
will, yeah.
Okay, I just
that'll
wanna be
reduce
sure.
that.
Okay, thank you,
So.
that's all.
And that, one of the things too, is I talked to Treasurer Hill about this, technically, that general reserve fund is unappropriated reserve. Because it's the same kind of funding. Even though we broke it out, if you look at it legally, the state would say, oh, you're more than good on your holdback and your unappropriated reserve because you're holding almost 14 million in a different account, but it's the same kind of money. I don't necessarily want to put all that back together to show that we have 15 million in unappropriated reserve because we might tend to spend it.
Other questions? Thank you, sir. Item 7 is an ordinance anticipating additional revenue in the amount of $542,102 in the DEM grant fund and appropriating that amount from the DEM grant fund to various Homeland Security budgets for 2025. J.P. Rickers.
Make a motion to pass this on full court with a due pass.
I have a motion from J.P. Ricker to pass this item on to the full quorum court to do pass recommendation, and a second by J.P. Dean. Any discussion? Citizen comment? Okay, I have a motion by J.P. Ricker to pass item 7 to the full quorum court to do pass recommendation, and a second by J.P. Dean. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes. Item 8 is an amendment to the planning ordinance. No, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry, ahead of myself.
Yeah, the planning would, it's just a different order, go down.
Oh, going down. Okay, thank you. Okay, I was right. It was an ordinance amending our planning and zoning ordinance. Director Ada brought up an item that when we were doing an amendment for it, which was basically identifying who sends out the notifications for appeals. As we were reviewing to see if there's anything else that was conflicting, we also found another item, whereas in the current zoning and planning ordinance, it doesn't provide for citizens to be able to appeal a planning board decision. So this amendment changes that. It makes a change in section 5N, item 1, basically adding or any citizen of Washington County. So if you look, it's if the planning board disapproves or denies an application, the reasons for such action shall be given to the applicant within 15 days from the date of the decision. Decision of the board shall be appealed first to the quorum court, sitting in its legislative capacity. Said appeal shall be perfected by the applicant. It stopped there. We added, or any citizen of Washington County by filing a notice of appeal. So that's one change. The second change was in section 5, subsection N, paragraph 5. Used to say the applicant shall provide individual notice to surrounding property owners consistent with the original notification for planning board court consideration. We've modified applicant to appellant. So the appellant shall provide individual notice to the surrounding property owners consistent with the original. So basically, whoever submits the appeal is responsible for providing those notifications. J.P. Stafford?
Thank you, Chair. These might be questions for Attorney Lester. When we're adding in the language about any citizen of Washington County, was that previously part of our ordinances before we passed this big update, and it was something that we accidentally left out, or are we adding this in for the first time?
No, I don't know that this has ever been in the ordinance. This wasn't something we left out.
Okay.
Historically, the county has always allowed anybody, including citizens, to file appeals and appeal the decisions of the planning board. And I think that's probably because under state law, any citizen of the county can do that. They can appeal those decisions, right? And so the county has historically always allowed that. And so this just solidifies that. It just kind of goes in to say, hey, this, hasn't always been stated, but this is how we've always done it. We're going to make it clear to everybody that this is our intent to allow those. I mean, you could effectively say no, but they still have a right to appeal that to circuit court. And so in order to keep from telling one party that, hey, you can't come to us as an administrative appeal, you have to go straight to court. It allows those administrative appeals for us to hear, for you as the quorum court, to hear anybody that feels aggrieved in the decision that's happened to come and say, hey, will you take a look at this? We want you to consider this.
Okay, and I think you answered my second question just there, was that, so this is state law that says that anyone in the county can appeal a decision.
Right, any decision that is, so what would typically happen, the quorum court does not have to sit as a quote-unquote administrative appeal,
Sure.
right? You do have to make a decision when it comes to conditional use permits, whether to pass or deny. If you elect, and the state law gives you the authority to make that election, if you elect not to sit as an administrative appeal, then the conditional use permits just come to you, you hear them, you make a decision, and then that is then appealed directly to the circuit court. The way we have this set up with the administrative appeal is before it actually gets to the quorum court, or at the time that it gets to the quorum court, it can come as an appeal where you get to hear from both sides, and there's a lot more allowance for the public and the applicants and whoever else to provide input to that before it's appealed to the circuit court.
Okay. The reason, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. The reason I was asking the question about whether that was state law that anyone can appeal, you know, I've lived in some other places, some larger cities, and there are sometimes folks who are basically like gadflies who decide to just, who knows, they're retired or who knows what they do. They've decided to make it their mission in life to just appeal everything, every single thing, to basically gum up the works of government. And so that was sort of why I was sort of asking whether that was like set by state law or not, so.
No, you know, due process requires that we allow anybody to make those appeals. Certainly, if it got to the point here in Washington County where the quorum court, a later quorum court, felt like that was going on, that we just had people that were maliciously trying to cause problems, then sure, you could always go back and change that because state law gives you that authority. So it's not like once it's done, you can't undo it. You could certainly make changes if you were to feel like that was, you know, being used maliciously and that it was, you know, somebody was just gaming the system, so to speak.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I need a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we pass this on to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion by J.P. Ecke to pass item 8 to the full quorum court, the due pass recommendation, and a second by J.P. Washington. Any additional discussion? Citizens' comment.
Sherry Main, 15451 Riches Road, Fayetteville. And I looked back at the old ordinance, the new one that was passed this year, and I'm trying to understand this correctly. If the planning board denies a cup, then it can be appealed by the applicant to the quorum court. And then at the quorum court meeting, it can be overturned and approved and ratified. If the cup is approved by the planning board, then the opposing parties that do not want the cup then would appeal, and that would go to the quorum court to either approve, the quorum court would approve the decision of the planning board and ratify it, or they would not approve it, which going against what the planning board says. Is this going to change any of that as far as the appeal process? In reading the old ordinance, there was a process before it got to the quorum court. You could go in and appeal to the judge, where each party could give their kind of spiel on what their take is, and it could be then go back to planning board. And I'm just wanting to make sure that we're getting this right. We don't have to go back and amend it again. I know that the first one, and I even commented that it's been amended so many times, it was just hard to follow. I don't want the same thing happening to this one, that we just have to keep amending. I know amendments will come, but we need to get it as clear as we can in the First Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen comment. I have a motion by J.P. Ecke to pass item 8 on to the full quorum court, the due pass recommendation, seconded by J.P. Washington. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It passes. So item 9 is an ordinance. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it passed. You didn't hear me. Okay, I'll speak louder. Sorry, apologize. Item 9 is an ordinance appropriating $1,100,000 from the unappropriated reserve in the general fund to the employee insurance fund budget for 2025. Did you want to speak to this, Comptroller Sherman?
Yeah, so the Employee Health Insurance Fund. This is a fund that I watch every week, so nothing gets paid out of it until I approve it. Right now, current appropriations are at negative 85,000. But there's a difference between appropriations and actual cash, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Right now, we have, in the fund, we have 629,000. That's partly because we dropped 315,000 in there today because we did payroll. So each payroll, we put 315,000 in, so about 630 a month. And we're averaging, coming out of that, paying out of that account, about 826,000 a month. So that fund is constantly churning and the money. Now, when we started this year, there was 1.8 million in there. So we went from 1.8 million down to basically, we're looking at 400,000 because I approved 200,000 be paid Thursday. So we got about 400,000 in there. This appropriation, what it does is it allows us to pay bills through this next, through December. So it's gonna cover the 826,000 that's probably gonna drop in December. And then historically, through January and February, we'll pay what's left over on any dates of service that happened in 2025, even though we get the invoice in 2026. The date of services were in 2025, so we pay those. This year, there might not be a whole lot to do, left over to do that, because we got to pay the, probably about 826,000 next month. So once it runs out in next January and February, then we'll kick into the 10 million that you guys appropriated in, for 2026. We are gonna get back, like Mr. Angel said, so we have one individual that had that one episode of 545,000, and then another 245,000. So we'll get that 245 back, which will go in the account. But basically, that individual probably cost the county about 950,000 this year, which we got back 750,000. Now, next year, we're gonna see it on the stop loss because they'll put a laser on, they can put lasers on individuals. Right now, Mr. Angel said that they're negotiating the stop loss premium right now. He thinks it's gonna be about 450,000 for that individual. So it's good that we're negotiating that now because, you know, the figures are higher than that. So basically, this 1.1 appropriation is gonna get us able to pay bills legally in December, and then the cash flow, we don't plan on moving any cash right now. Treasurer Hill and I, we watch that fund daily. We're dumping 630,000 into it every month. If we get that stop loss check, we'll put it back. Where I would like to try to hover is about $1 million on that account, in that account. When I originally started here, it was like 3 million in that account, and we brought it down to 2 million. Now it's down to real low, but that's partly because we're getting smoked on some of these high-cost claims. So, and we do know that there's some additional diagnoses within the plan that's probably gonna be high too, so. How we put the brakes on that, you know, I'm not really sure. This particular year, I had heard some chatter about the COLA, not giving a COLA, but we have absorbed all of the additional match for the county. So we went from 832 per member that takes the health insurance to 1,000 per member that takes it. So if a member takes health insurance, we're paying $12,000 a year. There's about 611 people on the count. When you add that up, it's $7 million. So we're kicking in $7 million of the 10 million, 7.3, and then the rest of the most of the rest of the money comes from employee premiums. So they actually pay that too. And one thing to understand, this is all appropriated in the departments. So it's appropriated in the department, and then it flows to the health insurance fund from there. So including the county match. So every payroll, the premiums and the county match come out of each department and flow to that fund. So clear as mud. So, but like Mr. Angel said, I think we are good where we're budgeting. It's just one of these years, hopefully we'll have a good year, you know, and thank God for stop loss, and we did it right. So.
JP Coger?
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. I'm thankful that the county is paying that extra amount for our county employees. I think that's a lot more, that will be a lot more benefit to them than a COLA raise would have been. It would be important to me. So I make a motion that we pass item 9.1 onto the full quorum court with the due pass resolution. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion by JP Coger to pass item 9 to the full quorum court, the due pass recommendation, a second by JP Lemming. Additional discussion, JP Hires?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually had a question for Comptroller Sherman. Just in case any of my colleagues are thinking about voting against this, I was wondering if you could just explain to everybody, what is the danger if we don't pass this tonight?
I mean, we have the cash to do it, but legally, we didn't appropriate the money. I mean, so I think that you have to pass it. Just, I mean, you would be not legally on good ground if we spend that money, if I'm speaking right, Counselor.
Any additional discussion? Citizens comment?
Sherry Main, 15451 Riches Road, Fayetteville. On the end of November, the unappropriated reserves was $2,438,581.62. And if we pull $1,000,001 for the insurance and then $500,000 from the unappropriated reserves for the next ordinance to be heard, our end-of-year balance for the unappropriated reserves is going to be $838,581.62. Now, that's a little under $1 million. I know a lot of departments have appropriated money in their budget, but heaven forbid we had a department that didn't have enough and we needed to come back in and appropriate more. Just something to think about. Thank you.
Citizens comment? So I have a motion by JP Coger to pass item 9 to the full quorum court, the due pass recommendation, seconded by JP Lemming. All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed? That passed. So we have the new item 10, which was added to the agenda tonight. This is an ordinance appropriating $500,000 from the unappropriated reserves to settle a lawsuit and other matters pertaining thereto. JP Ecke?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we pass item number 10.1 to the full quorum court with the due pass, recommendation. Is it going to go 3 readings once we get to the full quorum court, correct? It's an appropriation? No, it's an appropriation.
So I have a motion by JP Ecke to pass item 10, new item 10, to the full quorum court, the due pass recommendation, a second by JP Dean. Any discussion? JP Coger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I said all along that we could not deny the CUP to Eagle Crest based on their clients, people going through substance abuse treatment. But I wanted the CUP so that we would have control over issues now and in the future that will likely arise. So my vote against the CUP was based on land use criteria. compatibility and impacts on the surrounding area. The ADA does not automatically override local land use authority. It requires non-discrimination. I'm afraid by settling today, we create a bigger problem going forward. It doesn't strengthen our land use authority. It doesn't show fairness. If our land use rules collapse the moment they're challenged, then they aren't rules at all. So for those reasons, I'm voting no. Thank you.
Other discussion? Citizens' comment. So I have a motion by J.P. Ecke to pass new item 10 onto the full quorum court, the do pass recommendation, seconded by J.P. Dean. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. That passes. Next item would be a new 11 is citizens' comment. 3 minutes per person, a total of 15. Citizens' comment. Okay, thanks everybody, we're adjourned.